Hey everyone, how's it going? Hope you're all doing well. Today I want to talk briefly about 7.1.1, a new update coming into Shop Titans that has one major change. There's tons of bug fixes and balance changes, and hopefully a lot of the things that I've been complaining about for a while in terms of things just don't function super well will be changed. But there's one thing that is actually going to change everything, in my opinion. If I were to talk about the market today, before this change, I would say, okay, tier 6 is super important. Sigils are expensive. We need to figure out that ratio and how to make gold and how to make gems and blah, blah, blah. And that would really be the majority of what I talk about. But now a new change is coming. So let me read it. It says sigil fusions now grant 4 sigils per fusion. The moonstone cost is now 4, and the component cost is slightly more than doubled. The flawless item cost remained unchanged. So if we go to fusion, these are the 3 sigils that we can make: Grace, Spark, and Might. Right now it takes a tier 6, 5 Bleak Spire components, and 2 moonstones. So this is going to change to 4 moonstones instead, which means it'll cost about a million more to make one. It's going to cost 11 or 12 if it's just more than double for resources, and the tier 6 is going to stay the same, but this is going to make 4 sigils instead of 2. So what does this mean? That means that sigils are going to be easier to make, they're going to be cheaper to make, they're going to be more readily available, and the price for these is likely going to drop. Right now, average, you can get these for around 8 or 9 gems. So I'm thinking that the price on these is going to drop. I think this is a fantastic change because, as I've said many times, right now it doesn't make any sense to craft tier 11s unless you're just getting gold value or wanting to master them as an achievement. But generally speaking, 9 gems is worth like 4.5 million gold, and you're never going to get that out of a tier 11 unless you're crafting, really rares and whatever. But for the most part, you're going to be losing money by crafting tier 11s. And so now potentially this is going to drop in price. So let's say these drop in price to be 2 million gold, which is the maximum amount of gold that one of these can be worth. This is really important because if they get put up for 2 million gold, that means that the gem price is probably going to sit right around 4 or 5 gems. So if these are 2 million gold or so a piece, that means that crafting a tier 11 can actually be profitable now. It can actually make sense to craft tier 11s because if you do craft a double craft or whatever, you're profiting so much. And because often the rare crafts for tier 11s are so expensive because people need them for collection book or because surcharging them can be worth millions, it might actually be worthwhile to craft tier 11s. And because I've been saying that crafting tier 11s doesn't make any sense, and because tier 9s and tier 10s actually make a whole lot more sense gold wise to be crafting, I think that this is actually a fantastic change because potentially it actually makes crafting those items viable now, which is really interesting. So if these items all of a sudden become viable to craft, now the whole dynamic of what I've been saying about the game changes. So that's really interesting, and I think it's a fantastic change. The other thing is that if you look at tier 6 blues, which I check all the time, if we check gold gem price, 9 gems is usually on the low end, 10 gems is pretty average. There's normally going to be some 11 gem offers. All these are 10 right now. But check this out. If there's twice as many sigils coming from each tier 6, that means that the demand on tier 6s is also going to be dropping, most likely. And so because sigil prices are going to drop, tier 6 and of course the other tiers as well, but this is the lowest tier, these prices are likely to drop as well, which means that generally the demand on tier 6s might drop. So that means that tier 6s won't be as profitable to craft, and tier 6s and tier 11s will probably be profitable to craft. So this is probably going to change that dynamic where so often I was thinking, okay, once I finish mastering tier 11s, which I just finished, now what do I do? Now what should I be crafting? What's going to get me ahead in this game the fastest? How do I make gems? How do I make gold? And I'm thinking, why don't I just mass craft these low tier, like tier 6 items? And if I get a green and I can combine 5 of them, that's 5 million gold. If I get a blue, that's 5 million gold. If I get a purple, that's probably a little bit more than that, like 6-7 million gold. If I get a legendary, it's going to be worth a lot because people need it for collection book. So overall, it's just going to be incredibly good for me to just mass craft tier 6s. And as a super endgame player, that's so weird in this game. Like, crafting tier 6 instead of tier 11 somehow makes more sense. Like, that's just weird. But now it seems like the balance may be changing where that's no longer the case. That's no longer what makes the most sense. And so I think overall this is a really good change. It's going to change the focus from low tiers to high tiers. It's going to change the profitability of tier 11s. And I think overall, move things in a really good direction where the market's been basically stuck the way that it is since tier 11 came out, because there's nowhere else for it to go. There's not enough supply of flawless items. There's this weird like non-profitability of tier 11s, but people still buy them because they either want to master them or they're making opulence or whatever, and things just seem stuck and weird. So I'm hoping that this change actually is a really good change in game. I think it's going to shift things quite a bit, and so I'm actually really excited to see what all this is going to do. Unfortunately, I'm away for the next little while, and so I won't be able to see too much of exactly what's going to be happening in game. But once I get back, hopefully I can figure out those ratios and what tier 6 flawless will be worth, and how much easier it is to craft all of the sigils, and what their price is, and just kind of how to take advantage of the whole situation. But we'll figure that one out in time. So anyway, that's pretty much it for what I wanted to talk about, what I wanted to mention. Of course, I could go into much more depth, but I think once this kind of gets figured out in terms of what it's actually going to look like in game down the road, then I can make some more detailed videos on it. And hopefully in the near future, once we hit 5K subs, that's the goal anyways. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it. Then I will be making some more in-depth market guides, or I think I'm more going to do like a monthly longer talk on what the market's looking like and how you can take advantage of it, and then hopefully be able to update that on a consistent basis as things evolve and change, and maybe do it once a month or so. That's the hope, but we'll kind of see how things play out in the future. Obviously, lots is changing with our family and with baby on the way and stuff. I can't really promise anything, but we'll see. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching. As always, love you all. Hope you're having a good one, and I will see you next time. Peace out.